McCarthy Cup. It's going to be going home, I presume, tomorrow. I'm joined by the Galway midfielders Johnny Cohen and the winning captain David Burke. What does it feel like, David Burke, first of all to leave McCarthy and secondly to be an All-Ireland winning captain?
Yeah, I suppose, Marty, it's great to get your hands on it finally. But look, it required serious work there in the game. You know, it's whatever emotion you bring to the game, and you know all that goes on with All-Ireland final day. You know, we just still had a job to do, and we're just really thrilled, myself and Johnny, to be on the winning side of it today.
It was a tough game, Johnny. I mean, Waterford really did put it up to you.
Indeed, in the first half we thought we did a lot of hurling, but really they came at us, they kept coming at us, and 2 goals really stuck to them, and there was only a point in it at half time, and they went ahead then in the second half, and we had to really dig deep there for a finish, but thankfully we got the right side of it.
Well, you've shown a lot of character. You've won the league, you've won Leinster, you've won the All-Ireland, you've done everything.
Yeah, look, yeah, we're delighted. We only took it every game as it came, really. You know, we lost to Wexford in the league game back in Pearse Stadium, and I think it was a big turning point. And even today against Waterford in the league as well, when we were down by 10 points. You know, we knew we were good enough to compete with all these teams, and it's a matter of getting ourselves over the line. And I'm personally delighted for a couple of lads there in the panel, Colin Cannon and Cyril Donnan, and all the older lads have put in savage work all over the number of years, and even lads that hadn't been on the panel, you know, they deserve this as well.
Johnny Cohen, David Burke, congratulations to you and to all of Galway. I'm sure it's going to be party time in Galway for the next 3-4 months.
I think deservedly so, because probably the better team won on the day.
They were the better team, to be fair. You know, they started really well. Kevin Moran had got a brilliant goal. At that stage, it looked like Galway, you know, they were really flying, and Waterford were in serious trouble. But in fairness, Waterford settled into the game. They got another soft goal then before half-time. But in the second half, Galway just always seemed to be that few points ahead. And, you know, I think relief more than anything is the big emotion around the place.
Was it probably the experience that Galway have had in recent years of disappointment, that mentally maybe they were slightly stronger, and on the sideline the key decisions were made at the right time, and the key people came in? Yeah,
I think the introduction of Niall Burke and Jason Flynn had a massive impact. They scored 4 points from play between them, and Niall Burke was fouled as well for a couple of frees. But yeah, I think that experience, they could have worked both ways. If they had, you know, the pressure came on with 10 to go, that's where Waterford were looking for, was for a tight finish. But Galway, I think, have worked very strong under Micheál Donoghue on the mental side of the game, and they were able to finish out better. So we're the All-Ireland champions. Big disappointment for Waterford. Such a long break, but well done, Galway.
Galway, because of what they've done in recent years, look like they're at the top table now. Can Waterford come again? With neither Kilkenny nor Tipperary here, I suppose, Michael, are we going to see Liam McCarthy visit a couple of counties now?
Well, you know, last year we thought Tip would be back. You know, it's a hard thing to do to come back, but I think there is a spread of counties now. It's the first time since the 90s that you could say 6 or 7 teams are genuine contenders next year, starting out the year. So a good time for hurling, and you know, a great finish to a great year today.
OK, Michael, thanks for that. Well, let's move on to other matters here across.
They probably haven't seen anywhere for a very long time. There's a huge crowd here already, of course, and a massive crowd expected at the banquet. I'd say more people at the banquet than there was today on Hill 16. Anyway, we are part of it all as usual, and later on, again, we're going to be meeting some of the people involved in today's big match. We'll also be naming the man of the match from today's game. And if that comes from this side of the town, well, do expect a bit of a cheer. Des, I'll see you again in a while, maybe.
Ending a famine. It's a famous day for Galway today.
It is, Des, and I suppose with ourselves it was longer, but we hadn't as many near misses or anything like that. And
they've had a lot of heartache on the way.
They have, like, I mean, 6 losing finals and a drawn one, and since the 29 years, and like, so much emotion there today. We knew there was going to be great joy either way, but the West's awake tonight, I think, and deservedly so. And they were the better team, and the team of the year, won the league as well, and you know, great night for all the Galwegians.
Yeah. And Brendan, where do you see the biggest improvements? Where have they come from last year?
Well, I think they've gotten that word resilience. I mean, at the start of the game today, they went 4 points up. They had their 2 setbacks when Waterford got the goals. Point up at half-time, we're all wandering around the stadium. What kind of Galway is going to come out now? This whole squeaky bum time was starting to be mentioned around, you know. But then they had their burst of 4 points there in that middle of the second half. And all the way through, their defence, you know, was angry. Their forwards were all contributing. Joe had a fantastic game. And their bench. Their bench, to me, showed a huge togetherness, because when the boys came on to do the job, they worked as hard as the fellas who had fallen off the pitch, really. I mean, Dave Burke had to be carried off nearly. He was going that well. But I have to say, fair play to Micheál Donoghue. They're always talking about Galway and trying to fulfil the potential. Tonight they have, and they have the greatest prize of all sitting with them, you know, and congratulations. It's Annie's backroom team. They've done a fantastic job. Fantastic.
Let's talk about Waterford for a minute, Eddie, because there was still only the puck of a ball in it at the end of the game. Were Waterford at their best today in your review? Did they play to their max?
They probably weren't, but yet they found themselves right in the match. I mean, we spoke about it ourselves up at the match, saying at half-time Derek McGrath is probably going in here, look at lads, having not really hurled that well, we are right in this match. Is it our time? And you have to believe that at the time. But unfortunately now, when you know, the disappointment is really starting to sink in now and over the next few days, and you say, unfortunately, the history was what we all spoke about, and for me the overriding emotion was going to be that one of these teams was going home empty-handed today, and that opportunity for history was gone. And unfortunately for Waterford, the experience of losing an All-Ireland final is all they get to take from it, and maybe, you know, battle harden you for next year. And I know talking about that next year right now is not the thing, but these are the things that maybe make you come back to the table next year, and that's the killing point for Waterford today. I think if some of the, you know, the other teams that have won All-Irelands over the last few years were there, I think you'd all be saying, look, it'd be great for Galway to beat them, it'd be great for Waterford to beat them, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of sympathy, and I mean that in the right way. But it's just unfortunate for today for Waterford that someone had to lose, and they just...
Their support was fantastic, and that's one thing. The atmosphere going to the ground and the amount of people who were outside who didn't have tickets was extraordinary. It was very unusual.
Yeah, I only got to play in 2, so I've been at a lot of them as a spectator, and... Like, I've never been approached by as many people today from Gill's Corner up to the stadium. Any chance of a ticket, you know, anyone that would have a ticket, you know, it's just... I think they all knew history was in the making, and they wanted to be present, so badly wanted to be just there for it. And it was a fantastic atmosphere, the chants of Galway, and then answered by the Waterford crowd, and just longing for that elusive break and to get
the colour today as well was just absolutely fantastic to see the colour that was. We were, you know, you're watching the pockets of blue and white and maroon, and we're wondering who was the greatest support. But it was a brilliant occasion.
And just the clubs were brought into today as well. The kids to the primary game when the President Outram was being moved along to meet the players. All the primary game kids in front were wearing the club jerseys of those players. You know, and that's a fantastic thing as well. It just brought the whole thing in the club, and I found it very emotional looking down to see it, you know what I mean, all that part of it, because they're the people who got these players to where they are up to the league to Croke Park, is those club people, and great to see them be recognised in Croke Park as well.
And it was emotional days, wasn't it? I know we lost Tony in the last few weeks, and just emotional for Galway, you know, while great joy tonight, tinged with that little bit of sadness, but...
Well, everybody, and it was reflected in the captain's speech so well,
it was fantastic.
Well?
He was, you know, a fantastic game, great leadership, and, you know, brilliant speech.
We're obviously going to be analysing the game in detail in a few minutes. Did you enjoy it as a match? Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, I think it had everything from, you know, excitement, maybe lack of goal-mouth incidents really, because you kind of expect sometimes that there's a real, you know, threat on goals and people hanging in by the skin of their teeth. But I think the way the game has evolved now, it's everyone is involved in the match. It doesn't really happen anymore where 2 or 3 lads don't get a touch of the ball. Everybody's involved, everybody's working. The fitness levels were phenomenal today, the intensity. I mean, we've seen David Burke coming off today, Jamie Barron the same. I mean, these are guys that are clocking up probably 12 kilometres a match, which is phenomenal stuff.
And as people asked us, could somebody win the All-Ireland playing a sweeper, and probably, look, at that has been answered a bit today, but if somebody said to you at the start of the year, could a team play 4 games in a row right up to the final without scoring a goal and win it?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have expected, but by God, did they answer that today.
OK, well, we're going to go through the game in detail, where it was won and lost with the lads. But first, let's head back now to the Galway Hotel, where Michael has 2 very special guests with him.
Here we are in City West Hotel at the Galway Victory Do. There are apparently 1,600 people in the hall, but let me tell you for sure, there are at least 16,000 outside the City West at the moment. We have 2 very important men with us up here on the stage at the moment, and that is the Galway captain and the Galway manager. Give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, here with us today. I know, lads, it's only a couple of hours since the All-Ireland final. I know it's going to take time for all of this to sink in. But even in those few hours, have you had time, David, to reflect on some of this?
Yeah, I mean, just coming in there and seeing the support, really, and the emotion, you seen it coming off the bus. And the biggest thing for me was you could pick out anyone in the crowd, and every person in the panel had a connection to that person. And that was the biggest thing for me, and it's great for them to feel a part of this special day as well, and we're just thrilled really to get the job done.
So many people, obviously, in the last while have been reflecting on Galway teams of the past, the team of the 80s, and some of us are old enough to remember the team of the 70s and all that. You, of course, are from a younger generation. So what does that mean to the people of David Burke's generation?
Well, Michael, when I grew up, it was really, you're being told stories of the team in 1987 and 88, and obviously we drew huge respect for them, even though we never seen them play. Well, for me anyway, I didn't. I was a 1990 child, and look, it was massive for us. There was chances there in 2001, 2005, 2012. Serious quality players has gone down and played for Galway over the years, and management teams, and they put in as much work as we have. But I suppose we just had a bit more belief, and that's really what I instilled, or maybe tried to instill in lads this year. It was the top 6 inches, and try and believe that we're good enough to win it on the day.
Micheál Donoghue, congratulations to you, Galway manager. I spoke to you last week and we talked about the fact that you as a young fella used to come, because of the family connection, on the Galway bus, the team bus. And now, tomorrow, you'll be on the team bus as the Galway manager, going back to Galway.
Oh, yeah, look, and I think, once you've won this evening, I suppose your attention turns to tomorrow evening. It's obviously something we're all looking forward to.
Yeah. I got a phone call from my sister in Galway a little bit earlier on. From the few words that I could understand of what she was actually saying, everybody in Galway is looking forward to this tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, look, I suppose, for ourselves to experience the emotion of all the supporters and all the supporters that stayed in Croke Park today. And look, I suppose we're very fortunate, and everyone that was there today, to experience it. Look, we were very mindful of all the people that were left in Galway and all the Galway supporters throughout the world. The good wishes and best wishes over the last week has been absolutely phenomenal. And look, as I said, tomorrow evening we look forward to bringing it across to Shannon again.
Yeah. David, you captain's winning speech today, and an excellent speech, may I say. And you also took the time out to remember lost colleagues from teams of the past and the not too distant past.
Yeah, well, Michael, there was a lot of close connections with, I suppose, players on the panel. Conor Whelan was very first cousins with Niall, and lads have lost relatives and friends and family, obviously, as well over the years, and we couldn't really leave. Today was really about maybe them two people. I felt myself personally, but as the week goes on, I thank other people and other people that's related to people that passed away as well. And look, it's only going to bring them some happiness for the time being, but we realise that when you lose someone you love, it's very hard to fill that void. But hopefully Liam McCarthy coming back to Galway might help that.
This will help a bit, there's no doubt about that. Final word, Micheál Donoghue. I asked you a question last week when we spoke. I said to you, if Galway win the All-Ireland, are you going to cut loose? What's the story?
Am I going to cut loose? Yeah, look, obviously...
What's he like when he cuts loose, by the way?
Be wild, mate.
Look, obviously it's a very historic occasion today, and look, we're really going to enjoy tonight and the next few days, and we might cut loose, yeah.
Well, lads, listen, Liam is going across to Shannon. Well done to you. Well done to them, folks.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations to them. Now, as the party continues there, we're going to reflect on where the game was won and lost with our expert panel. We're back in a couple of moments. You're very welcome back to the programme. Now, we're reflecting on Galway's magnificent double at Croke Park today, and we're going to go through where the lads felt the senior game was won and lost. The first thing we have to talk about, Eddie, is that extraordinary scoring burst at the start from Galway. The pace of it was incredible.
Yeah, it certainly was, Des, because you often wonder what's going to happen. Is there going to be a bit of shadow boxing at the start of the match till we bed down a little bit? But Galway just seemed to just out of the traps very, very quickly. And within minutes, I suppose, look, their talisman Joe Canning was setting the trail. I mean, he could have had a free there, and that's a very good point, moving away from the goal back over the shoulder. That was 1-0. So a couple of moments later, Johnny Cohen, again, he spots there's a gap through the middle of the Waterford defence. All the Waterford defenders are man-to-man, as details. Tyke de Burka is sitting back there. And Johnny Cohen just travels, waiting for an option to pass it off. And for me, maybe de Burka needs to get out to him quicker and cut out the option for that point. A couple of moments there, then Nolly Connors does everything well. Conor Whelan harassed them all even. Johnny Glynn then just gets a bit lucky with the ball, pops up. And Cathal Mannion, with the beautiful points, again over his shoulder. Conor Whelan, what I like about him and what he does best, he just drops the shoulder and goes straight at fellas. Possibly could have had a free. And Conor Cooney in such tight space with Pádraig Mahoney breathing down his neck there, throws over a super point. And then amidst all the maybe confusion that's going on where the Galway forwards are being marked by the Waterford, as David Burke finds himself in almost nearly a third of the pitch. Nobody marking him, and maybe that's something that you question with possibly the sweeper system with so many bodies back there. How does a fella float into half a pitch all on his own? Should a wing forward see that? But it was threatened, you'd have to say the match almost threatened to get away from Waterford. Such was the start, and like we said, after 12 minutes you had 4 forwards and both midfielders that scored for Galway. It
was incredible, and we worried, Brendan, could this be a repeat of the bad old days of 2008? But Waterford got those 2 goals that were crucial lifelines to them.
Yeah, you have to give credit to Waterford. The opportunities came. We look at it here, there's a couple of defensive lapses. But in fairness to Waterford, they took them, And when the first goal came in, Kevin Moran got it. It came from a long puck out down the pitch. And, he gets onto the ball and he's inside. Everyone's question, I suppose, Colin Callanan's positioning here. He's a bit too far off his line. If he could have sat back a bit further on the line, I think he was trying to come out in case the ball went over the top and got a little bit disorientated. But also, you'd have to question Aidan Hart's position. Before the puck out came, it took 20 seconds in Stephen O'Keefe's hand. They had plenty of time, but the last place you want your sweeper, Des, is in under a puck out like that, because the space he leaves in behind him. Now, all credit to Kevin Moran here. To be fair, once he gets in here, it's a fantastic shot, just about a foot inside the post there. But also then, look away now, I'm afraid, Colin Callanan. When the ball comes in, this happens all goalies at some stage in our lives. It's just unfortunate for Colin what's happened here in an All-Ireland final. He thought that Bennett was going to get a flick on it, got caught in 2 minds. But for me, really, we zoom in on it here, he's decided he's going to go to try to stop it with the hurley, but he changes his mind. And when you do that as a goalie, you lose sight of the ball for that split second, goes into a blind spot. You're hoping it hits your hand at that stage, and more often than not, it doesn't. But at the same time, Galway won the match, so all these are obviously forgiven. But I remember Colin Callan's season saving that penalty in the Leinster final. I remember him giving out about him when he saved against Shamie Callanan, saving his team against Tipperary. He's had a fantastic year. A couple of glitches today, but either way, he can still look at himself in the Liam McCarthy and worry about it.
For Galway, he has a very, very important player for Galway.
Very good.
But Waterford got those goals, so they're right back in the game. But Galway stayed cool, didn't they?
Yeah, Des, and I would believe the 2 words that would sum up Galway's season has been patience and composure. They never really panic at any stage, and great credit to Micheál. Joseph Cooney, David Burke, covering ground, and there's Tadhg de Burke covering. There's going to be no goal, but when you're hitting the 26 point zone, you have a great chance. They really, every time they had a setback, they were able to Joe sideline ball, trademark, putting them 11 points to 2-4 ahead. Conor Whelan had a tough hour on Nolly Connors, but came up, that put him 12 to 2-5 ahead, when they really wanted it. And then again, Joseph Cooney, Waterford tried to play through the lines, so they were very aware of that, very well coached on that, and he was ready, hurley up, just in case Dara Fife's pass wasn't bang on, intercepted, got in, and that put them 13 points to 2-5 up. So despite the setbacks, they were tagging on the points, keeping it going, saying, lads, we're going to come down the tunnel here ahead at half-time, and they did.
Yeah. Should they have been further ahead at half-time?
Yeah, I think they possibly could have been. We said, look, the lifelines were the goals for Waterford, but at the same time too, Galway were quite economical with their scoring returns. I mean, they had 8 points on the board before they registered a wide. So I think precision is another word I would throw in there for Galway this year.
But let's credit Waterford. They hung in, they're not gone, they're only a point behind at half-time, not going as well as they might. And then early in the second half, they went ahead for the first time in the 42nd minute. And in your view, could they have gone further ahead?
Yeah, I think it was a really key moment in the match, as it turns out, because the opposite happens. But what you have is Jamie Byrne. I mean, what a step there to take out David Burke. Almost gets fouled then, but has the vision then to spot Pádraig Mahoney come behind him, and he slips a point to draw up the match. He then, a few minutes later, he gets a free, which now puts Waterford 1 point up. And having not maybe played the same coming out after half-time. And then for me here, Kevin Moore, I mean, you question where's the marking here again. For me here, he needs to just settle there. I think he takes a touch too much and tries to just clip it, whereas I felt if he had to have got that, he would have, steadied up and nailed it. The response then straight away from Galway was that Niall Burke came on, got his first point, Joe nailed this free, and then you have Conor Cooney then would say picks up the ball that they had stopped. We said there was a great work by the Galway forwards to keep the ball up there, get that hot ball. He also has the luxury of Jason Flynn outside him, and this now puts a swing and it puts Galway 2 points up. And that just reinforces maybe the positive vibes that I think Micheál Donoghue would have been trying to get into the Galway lads at half-time, saying, you're doing a lot of hurling here, maybe it's not reflected on the scoreboard, believe in the process and keep at it. And that to me was probably a key point in the match that ultimately, you know, maybe Waterford, when they were threatening to maybe get stuck and get right into this match and get a lead, Galway snuffled it out.
Yeah, they had that lead a couple of years ago against Kilkenny and didn't hold on to it, you know.
That was it, coming down the straight, they didn't, and I think sometimes that's it, and maybe that was probably one of the things that you'd have to say about Galway this year. They were a little bit more
and a nice
clinical.
bit went wrong for them today, like in terms of
it wasn't all
a couple of frees, pick off the ground, the 3 catches by Adrian coming out from the back, you know, the goals,
and that's the occasions.
They still got it done, and I think that's a huge sign of how united and how focused they were on the job.
Even mentally, you know, in the right place.
When they came under that pressure and Waterford got back into the match, Anthony, lots of fellas did stand up in their defence, but you felt Gerald McInerney was towering there.
Yeah, well, I think there's, you know, if you look at it all year, this guy, and I thought he got a specific job to do today, was, you know, you often hear maybe the Kerry fella saying hammer the hammer, and Ozzie Gleeson obviously has been a huge player for Waterford in the last 12 months. But they allowed him to go up the field, and we see him here. You know, he goes right. He's right up on the opposition 45. But you see Johnny Cohen, awareness, get back, cover the middle, let him go up. You know, but he's defensive. I mean, he to me has been the massive difference. Like Shane Bennett goes to take him on here, flicks it away, doesn't get it up first time, but gets back, clears these lines again, and he's been a tower. And here again, the strength, like Ozzie comes in, tries to knock him off it, does knock him off it, Hurley back in, you know, not letting anybody else up with it, I'm coming away with it, and pops the hand pass back to Dahi Burke. And here really wanted 4 Waterford players, he dances out pass, and he popped the hand pass out to Aidan Hart, and I think this guy, to me, has made all the difference. They were trying Dahi Burke early on the year and trying to get a full back, but they slotted Dahi back full back, went with Garrod at 6, and I think that has made all the difference.
When Galway needed key scores to kind of pull ahead there towards the end, they came from the bench, showing the strength and depth they had.
They did, and it was gas last week. We were doing the preview show, and we felt that Waterford might have the stronger bench, you know. But today, certainly, Micheál Donoghue called the guys in, especially up front. You know, suddenly you had Niall Burke coming in. He pushes the Waterford defender out of the way to say there's a new guy in town here. Jonathan Glynn offered a stand and fight option, but Niall Burke gives you pace and legs. So when he gets out in front of Fives here, you know, strong man, Fives has no choice there but to foul him. But what he also gives you then, when he comes across, see him nudging the defender out of the way, Conor Whelan flicks it in, and here's that composure. This is what wins All-Ireland, you know. That looks like an easy score. Look, just made it and got it over. And then, of course, we have Jason Flynn. You know, his very first touch of the game is when the ball drops into a crowded area. You want a guy in there who's getting onto it quickly and can strike it very, very fast. And Jason Flynn is the man for that job. When he got in under this, he had it in his hand quickly and away, and the young man can swing a hurley in a phone box, I'd say, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's very quick and it's very economical. But also then, this piece of skill. I mean, he touches the ball into his own path, takes a step, gets it onto his left and puts it over the bar. But that angle doesn't do it justice, Des. This is the one, really, you know. He has the defender tight against him. He wants to move the ball infield. And actually, if you watch it, he's looking out over the Cusick stand. He's actually looking the wrong way when he flicks it down. And that kind of awareness and skill in front of that kind of pressure, you know. And this was like in the dying minutes of the game. And when you need the job finished all through time, you know, you need your bench coming in to do it. And certainly when those guys stripped off, they didn't let Galway down, and they were a key part of them getting across the line.
Should they have started? They will feel they should have started.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, there was the thing that with Jonathan Glynn, I think they were pounding down the Waterford defence maybe, you know, and then they said they'd use the legs in the finish maybe when Waterford got a bit tired, they couldn't cover off the angles, and then, of course, when Ty de Burka had to push up, it opened up again, that extra bit.
It's always going to be a physical grind with the systems that Waterford are playing and with what Galway as their strengths. So that was always going to happen.
And the Waterford subs did fairly well. Like Morris was brought on probably. Shane Benner's obviously
very
injured.
early.
So that's not the time they want Morris coming on. But like Brian O'Halloran made a good impact. Tommy Ryan got a great score, so they did still make an impact. But the two boys really swung it, I think.
But in those closing stages when Waterford needed a goal probably, and were they a bit one-dimensional, driving it down?
Yeah, for me, Des, I thought they were a small bit one-dimensional, and strangely enough, they went down the spine of the Galway attack, which is where they're strongest. So what you have here is Stephen O'Keefe sends to quick 1-2, sends a scud missile down the middle. You've all the middle of the goal congested. All the Galway defenders are on the Waterford forwards. They have a physical edge there. There's space out on the outside that they're not using. That resulted in a point for Niall Burke. Same thing happened again almost. The next sequence of play from the same puck that Niall Burke scored, Stephen O'Keefe sends a scud missile down the middle. Again, you have channels on the outside, which for me, maybe the Colin Dunfords or the Patrick Currans of this world might have used. Galway come back out, get a free. Joe Canning nailed that free to put him 3 points up. And again, the straight from that puck out, straight back down again. Stephen O'Keefe went long into that area that was so congested. And in that area, you have Garrod McInerney, you have Daithí Burke, who gets fouled here bringing out this ball. And fast forward 30 or 40 seconds later, Galway break down the attack and David Burke clips another fine point. And what that done was that ultimately moved Galway in the space of 3 puckouts. 3 Waterford puckouts. Galway went from a point up to 4 points up, and that was around the 60th, 63rd minute.
But the interesting thing then was they're now in the lead. They're 8 or 9 minutes away from this historic All-Ireland ending the famine, Brendan. They had to close it out. They needed men to stand up and lead them.
They did, absolutely. You know, like with 10 minutes left, they're 1 point up. And at that stage in the game, you're looking, obviously, to close it down. But you're losing communication, really, is the key part. Now, what all Waterford want to do all year is launch counter-attacks, but you can see Galway didn't get sucked up the pitch. They left their 2 guys back, and when the Galway forwards were harassing like they were doing all day, making sure. But the man we want to look at here is Johnny Cohen. Anthony highlighted him there a while ago. Watch his head, it's on a swivel. He's looking around, can I go forward? No, wait, I'll just wait and let this develop. Then he gives another look, yeah, it's okay to go forward, there's a man back. So this was going on through the last 10-minute spell. Joe Canning here, at this stage in the game, there's 68 minutes gone. Joe is telling his forwards to move out. He has identified that Burke has gone one-on-one, so they have the ideal for what they want. So under this puck out then, it drops down on top of Burke. He's one-on-one with the Burke, wins it, and is pulled to the ground. You know, again, you can see Joe. And again, finally then, you know, when they were holding out at the very end, they had got bodies back behind the ball. You can see how many are there. They've 8 defenders back there. And that's fine, you know, you'd expect that in a normal game. But then what happens next is they work the ball out. There's nobody really panicking. That Galway defender gets on the ball here. Mannion out he comes, he looks up, and of course who's there? Jason Flynn. Now what does Jason do? Hits the ball up into the corner flag. Now we saw Cork a number of years ago, Des, where they didn't do that, you know what I mean, and they found themselves then getting caught in an equaliser. That led to a free. And then they slowed the game down again. And even in the last part of it, Joe Canning was saying, I'm going up the line. And like Anthony will tell you, that's vital. Like players doing that on the pitch, like that's very hard to coach even, is it?
Well, Ger Lucknan has spent a long time talking about on-field leaders and maybe the lack of them in Galway. And by God, that has been turned around, and great credit to Micheál for that, because you must empower players to take responsibility while they're out there. And they call that. You can't call that from in that cauldron today, trying to call that from the line, impossible. But they took that themselves.
That's what you want, is fellas being aware of what's going on.
Absolutely.
They're aware of the clock. And I know in football it's a huge thing. Donegal a few years ago, in the football, we're identifying burning down the clock. So at that stage of the match, when you have a grasp of it and the opposition are dying to get their hands on the ball, you're just choking the life out of them. Back to the end line and start again and bring it back up the field, which is disheartening, really.
OK, well, let's go back now to the Galway team hotel. And a couple of famous men from the Sarsfields Club are with Michael. It was a big day for them. Michael.
Certainly was, Des. I can tell you, by the way, that it is getting more excitable. It is getting warmer here at the Galway Victory Duel. And I can tell you, whatever about John Milan going down the quays in Waterford and various states, the next time you come to me, I could be in my shorts and my string vest. You have been warned. There, as you said, Des, there are great family connections between this Galway team of the moment and the Galway team of a previous generation. We're joined by 2 of those here at the moment, Joseph Cooney and, of course, Joe Cooney Sr. Gentlemen, you're very welcome indeed. Congratulations to both of you. I was saying, Joseph, to your captain who was up here a moment ago, it's only a few hours since the All-Ireland, but Has any of this really sunk in yet?
I really don't think so. You know, it's very hard to put it into words.
Yeah.
We're kind of lost, you know. I suppose it's everything we've ever dreamed of. We've put our lives on hold for this, and we've, as a bunch, as a group of 34, and the management team with us, like, we've put everything on the line for this, and we're just so glad that we got over the line and, you know, just got there for a finish. It was.
Because as everybody who plays the game at a high level knows, it's the fine margins, because I suppose we're all conscious of the fact that while you're celebrating here, there's another team in another part of Dublin, maybe not quite so happy.
Yeah, we've been there 2 or 3 times, well, 2 times before anyway, you know, we've went to a replay in 12, but you'd really feel for Waterford and what they're feeling tonight. They're a great group of guys.
Yeah.
You know, I said it to every one of them coming off the field, keep the heads up, keep going, because that's sport, like, you know, sport does that, and we've been there before and experienced that, and, you know, it's, I suppose the other side of it is you're just in a whirlwind, you don't know what to do, but, you know, I'm sure they'll come back and they'll be stronger again next year, you know, so.
Sure. Well, listen, it has been a great day for you, and Joe Senior, of course. You had great days yourself in the Galway jersey and great memories, but I'm sure you're a very proud dad today.
Yeah, I suppose, Michael, just one thing when you're a young fella, when you start playing, you just love to get to Croke Park, and then to win in All-Ireland is something else. But I suppose when you have a young fella there and he to do the same thing, it's something special as well. So it's lovely to see it, and like, you can't explain to anyone.
I know.
They have to be out there, they have to go through it. They've done it now, so it's great, you know.
It is. I presume, Joseph, you heard about this fella when you were growing up, yeah?
A small bit here and there, yeah.
So were you always going to be a hurler then, obviously?
Well, I suppose Dad never pushed me into anything,
Sure.
you know, and I'd always be grateful of that. He let me make my own way and make my own decisions, and I suppose it was just the club and the group, and you're growing up with your own fellas going to school, and everyone mad for hurling, and there was no football, there was no rugby, there was no soccer.
Sure,
Out the back of nowhere, like, you know. But we enjoyed every minute of it, and I suppose that's why you do it. You're just enjoyment, you know.
Yeah. Joe, we know what your team and that Galway success of the 80s meant. What will this mean for Galway hurling?
Well, I suppose it means an awful lot as well, because there are a load of, especially younger people, that never saw us playing, I suppose, or didn't know anything about us. So at least now they have these fellas to look up to, and it's great to see it, because every county needs that, and it's good for hurling, really. Like the 2 teams that were there today, it was unbelievable, the excitement, you know, what it meant to both teams, you know. So
sure.
Look, it means the world to Galway, you know, and to a lot of young people around the place, and even older people as well, you know.
Well, Joe Senior, 30 years ago, we were all very proud of you and in great admiration for you, and now I'm happy to say we feel the same about your son. Thank you, lads, very much
Thanks,
indeed.
Mike. Thank you.
Des, one more visit to come from the Galway victory 2 leg.